time. It is July 1st. Q&A thread was from earlier this week. A couple days behind as usual, but nonetheless, here we go. Was open Q&A this week, so broad array of questions. Okay. Best natural supplements for anxiety relief that are non-drowsy that can be taken in addition to L-theanine. Okay, so L-theanine is going to help with raising GABA levels, as some of you may know. That is a really good one for anxiety. It can make you drowsy. I mean, most of the stuff that's going to help with anxiety can make you drowsy. It's kind of dose dependent, though. There's stronger stuff like phenibut. That's going to be pretty similar, just like I said, it's stronger. Definitely make you drowsy if you take enough. As always, like anything, stress, anxiety, depression, anything like that, it's always good to find the root of the problem. You know, what's triggering it, what's causing it. Is it a neurotransmitter imbalance, or is it something lifestyle related, something environmental related that's causing it to happen? So that's, you know, it's always good to know that first and limit those triggers and, you know, fix those things. And there are other things that can help, potentially raising serotonin levels if that's an issue for you. So something like 5-HTP could be helpful. There are other herbs like valerian root, lemon balm, things like that that are calming. You can look into those as well. Like I said, a lot of this stuff could be sedated potentially depending on the dose. Somebody else on here mentioned CBD. Yeah, CBD is a really good one. So that's a different mechanism. So CBD oil, for I'm sure most of you know what that is at this point. It is going to act on the endocannabinoid system. So it's a different mechanism than GABA or serotonin, but nonetheless, it is definitely helpful. A lot of people find it calming. It is not necessarily sedative. It is not psychoactive, so you know there's no THC in the CBD typically, or very, very minimal. That is definitely a good option. Make sure that you're getting quality product. There are a lot of products out there. You can look for ones that have, you know, third-party testing or some kind of analysis on their product. And I would just start low on dose. I mean, the dosing is huge. The dose range is massive, depending on what you're looking for. You know, anything from just calming you down a little bit or more of the pain relief side of things. So CBD would be a really good one to experiment with there. Do your research on that. Next, in terms of coaching and trainers marketing themselves on social media, what would you say are some of the do's and don'ts and do nots? Should people be called out? How far should bashing go, if at all? Is it better to not say a word? Is anyone immune to participating in this? And then go on to talk about just some specific examples. Man, anyone that's followed me, they know that this just isn't, that's not the way I market myself at all. You know, I've put examples out there of, you know, just situations I've seen, you know, hey, if you run into this situation, be careful, you know, you need to probably get out or get some better advice or whatever. Never called anyone out by name, nor would I. And nor do I think that basing your marketing scheme or a large portion of your marketing scheme on bashing people is just, for one, it makes you look childish and makes you look immature, desperate, like a D-bag, basically. And secondly, it just doesn't really accomplish anything. It's not providing any value to your potential clientele or the people you're trying to educate. So personally, I think it's a really shitty marketing a way to market. And I just think it looks like a real big reach when people do that. And people do it. I mean, people base a large portion of their marketing on that. And it is, I don't know. It's a huge turnoff to me. I don't know. I mean, I guess some people might buy into it and they might like that type of thing. Probably not the type of clients that I want anyhow, so whatever. With that being said, if you do this long enough, you're in this industry long enough, you know something about just about everyone. I could say confidently that I know some guys that I've never heard anything bad about. I know, maybe not on like a super personal level, but, relatively personal. At least I know a good amount about them. And I feel like they do all the right things. They don't screw people over. They don't have any bad blemishes on their record, and so on. It just really comes down to just not being, well, it's a complicated thing. I mean, people get overextended a lot when they do get bigger, and their service suffers because maybe they just want more money, or they lose sight of why they started this in the first place. And so, they do things or don't give the attention to people, or maybe they give, sorry, it's storming outside as you guys can hear. And they don't give people the attention that they should, or they give, one of their pro clients a lot more attention than somebody else because they know it'll market them. And maybe the client that they're not giving attention to, the general pop client, they've had them for 5 years. You know what I mean? They just don't really have the passion for it anymore. At a point, you need to just sit back and say, okay, I'm not able to help this person anymore, or I'm not able to give them their money's worth. I shouldn't be coaching them instead of just taking their money. That's just my personal opinion. Personally, I'm not going to go clear into my business model. I organically market. I think I just put information out there, build relationships with people. I help as many people as I can, and that's how I get business. It's a slow way to do things. I could have double the clients, but I couldn't give them the same type of service, so I don't. I'm not trying to make this about me. I'm just giving you an example of where I think people may go wrong in this and may end up kind of digging themselves in a hole when maybe they're really not a bad person to start with. But there are just some downright shitty people out there that just don't care. They just don't care about their clients. They really don't. They just make money. They don't care if they hurt their health. They don't care if they hurt their whatever, whether they give them attention or whatever. But in general, even with those people, even if you know something, and trust me, like I said, I could do all day radio show on just talking about people. But again, I don't think it does any good at the end of the day. I think that everyone just, unless someone's, I don't know, it's just not my jam, It's just stay in your lane, be the best that you can be, and worry about yourself, and hope that those people don't get caught up in poor service, or getting their money taken by someone that doesn't care, or getting worse their health, and if it does happen, spread a little awareness here and there, not necessarily calling people out by name. Do as much right as you can. That's it. That's really it. I mean, I could go in, like I said, I could go way into this, but I just don't think, like I said, the bashing thing is not, just not a way that I would market personally. That's kind of a ramble. Sorry. I am passionate about that topic though, but like I said, I tiptoe around it because I don't want to open up a can of worms, because I just hate drama. I'm somebody that I don't ever argue with anyone online, hardly at all. I turn off notifications to threads all the time if people want to argue, because I can't be bothered with it, So, next one. How do you modify someone's nutrition that has Crohn's disease? What foods and drinks do you have them limit due to their disease, or things you may cause disease to flare up? Okay, so Crohn's is a type of IBD, or irritable bowel disease. So just real basic stuff on Crohn's. It's mainly an inflammatory disease, and the thing about Crohn's is that it's not a lot different than anybody else. And when I say that, it is a lot different because there are limitations, but what I'm saying is the things that I would do aren't a lot different. I'm still limiting food intolerances. I'm still limiting inflammatory foods. I'm still, all the things that would bother somebody else, I'm still limiting those things in somebody with Crohn's. It's just that they're going to have more things I have to limit. In general, there are some major hitters, and it depends on how progressed the disorder is, but they tend to have, they may not do well with like a really dense, high residue diet, so like a high fiber diet. You want to keep enough fiber in there for digestion, but keep it on the lower end. No high FODMAP type stuff that's going to pull a lot of water into the GI tract. You want to keep the food efficiently moving, so obviously foods that digest easy, according to whatever they can handle. Foods that are lower inflammatory, whether that's whether that's carbs, protein, or fat, just lower inflammatory quality food sources. So for example, if you're using a food that does have some fats in it, like beef, for example, don't buy the shitty grain-fed high-fat beef. Buy grass-fed beef. Buy that's going to have a better fatty acid profile. That's going to be less inflammatory. Grass-fed butter instead of regular butter. I don't think anyone's really using regular butter. Maybe they are. Pastured eggs instead of regular eggs. So things like that are definitely going to make a difference. But limiting inflammation, limiting highly inflammatory foods, so things like gluten and dairy, stuff that even if they don't have celiac, yes, they can limit gluten because it does tend to be a little more inflammatory. So it could be helpful. But they just need to be diligent about food triggers, and they need to know what triggers them, and they need to limit those things, whether that's a food diary or whatever it is. Keep track of those things. So, and then obviously regiment the fiber intake. They need to track fiber intake and know what they're taking in. Stuff like IBD or types of IBD, it can flare up really easily, so you have to be diligent with this type of stuff. Keeping stress down, like anything that's going to exacerbate a digestive issue or GI issue in somebody normally, it's going to be twice as bad in somebody like this. So getting super stressed out, yeah, it's going to fuck your GI tract all up. Sorry, that's just how it is. You need to make sure you are conscious of those things. So yeah, I mean, that's the basics of it. And then beyond that, it's very specific. I would also say that there are potentially some malabsorption issues with some people with Crohn's. So making sure that they're getting a variety of micronutrients in, they might need to supplement with things like, for example, anemia is common, whether it's pernicious anemia or whether they're whether they're iron deficient. So making sure that they're getting plenty of iron in their diet, make sure that they're getting plenty of B12 in their diet, make sure that they're getting maybe just even someone that you definitely want to use a quality multivitamin with that has highly bioavailable forms of the micronutrients in there. Maybe a good greens formula, things like that, that's highly concentrated instead of just having to pound tons and tons of veggies. Even a greens and reds formula that has the fruits and, the fruit extracts and the fruit powders and stuff in there that are freeze dried and that get a high concentration. So stuff like that's definitely going to be helpful for those people. And then, like I said, the main thing being diligent in journaling and monitoring. That's number one. Okay, it's a little long one, but stick with me. Hey man, for the past several weeks, I've been noticing a pretty weird phenomenon. Whenever I'm doing my core exercises, my torso starts shaking uncontrollably. No pain. I'm condensing this. No pain, but it's weird somehow, like my nerves are firing, and I have no control. Primary example, I'm doing a plank or weighted ab exercise. I don't experience shakes on regular exercises like squats and deadlifts, etc. So what might cause this? It's very strange, like I said, no pain, etc. So it's funny you mentioned this, because at first I read this and I'm like, man, that's really strange. But I actually had a client that had an almost identical issue, and they went to a good therapist, and they actually found out that they had just a really bad, and I could see it too, especially in the photos, and especially after they pointed it out, they had a really bad anterior pelvic tilt. So part of the core was really weak. So what was actually happening is it was just there was an overcompensation issue, and it was muscle firing. It wasn't painful because it wasn't like a nerve was trapped or something where you would feel that shooting pain, but it was an imbalance that they needed to get corrected in their torso and the way that their torso was aligned. So there was also, with that, is clearly going to be some muscular imbalances too. So what was neat was when they worked with this therapist on correcting this anterior pelvic tilt, their core got stronger, of course, but also, their diaphragm and everything, but also they noticed other things were firing in the exercises after that, in their squats and deadlifts, firing better than they were before. Why? Because their hips are in alignment and what have you. So that's probably what I would do, whether you want to go to a chiropractor or somebody that does some kind of mobility therapy, or even I suggest that they also maybe visit and someone that does RPR if you can find it. And RPR it's kind of based around like sequential movement. So like, for example, if you're I did a video on this too. It's on my YouTube, and you should be able to find it on there. Like if somebody's running, so what's the sequence of movement they're running? Does the arm move first? Does the foot move first? Does the shoulder tilt first? How is it actually supposed to look? And this talks about firing sequence in muscular and in skeletal system and the nervous system. So that could be another modality to look into as well. Okay. Couple more. Next one. Okay, myth bust me one. You only have so many heartbeats. Don't use them up on cardio. Or there's a net win due to lowered rate outside of the cardio sessions. That's a funny one, because the guy that asked the question, I feel like he posted something about this in one of the groups, and I saw it like somebody with some literature on that. Your body only has so many heartbeats and then you die, type of thing. Which, I mean, I don't know how much validity there is to that. I didn't look super far into it, to be completely honest. And there's so many factors that obviously play into that. But, I mean, if that was the case, then yeah, if you had a slightly raised heart rate during cardio, but it's also would probably lower your resting heart rate outside of cardio, I guess that you're probably going to level out or maybe be at a slight advantage. I don't know. Good question. Last one. Oh, fun one. When did you get your first request for your posing trunks? I would imagine this probably this might have got posted after the weird schmoey shit I posted the other day. Screenshotted. I don't know. I don't know, to be honest. It was a couple years in, but social media wasn't like as big as what it is now when I started bodybuilding, so unless you're getting a private message on the forums from the schmoes, which I'm sure they were there, then you weren't really having it. Like now, it's like all over fucking Facebook, you just got shit everywhere. It's just schmoey everywhere. Hopefully, you can do good enough on your friend request filtering to get rid of them. But that is it. I think I got them all. A little bit shorter one this week. Had some random questions in there. I didn't know how long it would take, so I cut this one off. But yeah. I will get this up for you guys. I'll talk to you guys next week.